we haven't seen some of these houses. We haven't even seen the inside or the outside because some like we bought a portfolio of a bunch and there's no pictures. So we really had to trust you in saying yay or nay, and this is what needs to get done, and accepting things at face value, which normally like I'm a control freak. So for me, it's been a challenge, but I didn't have a choice but to trust you, and it's gone great. It's almost like I keep telling you, it's almost too easy.
And that's the nice thing about it is we got into this because we like to help other people, and now we're helping her mom out. But we have a lot of friends that are interested in this. So we want to be able to pay this forward. And we wouldn't do that if we didn't have trust in the program that you're putting forth.
Yeah.
Hey guys, what's going on? Do I have a treat today for you? I want to bring on my clients, Joanna and Scott, and guys, they have done so much in such a short amount of time. I had to bring them on because if I were to tell you this while I was doing a walkthrough video of one of their houses, you probably wouldn't believe me. So guys, thank you so much for coming on here today. I know there's so many people who are ready and excited to hear your story.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Definitely. So, guys, talk a little bit about what has gone on here over the last couple of months, how fast you guys have moved, and how many properties you've been able to onboard in that short period of time.
Sure. So the story is this started last year. My dad passed away in December of the year before, and we had to sell some land in New York. And we really only thought we were going to get a certain amount of money and we were doing a 1031 tax exchange. And anybody who's done a 1031 tax exchange knows you have 45 days to identify a property or properties. And then you have 180 days to close. So our whole goal with doing this was that we wanted to make sure that we added to my mom's income because she lost income when my dad passed away. So we wanted to make sure that she was going to be taken care of. And this gave us the opportunity to do that. We are in North Carolina. We are real estate investors, and it's very competitive here. So finding properties here has been a challenge. And we came across your video and watched a ton of them, of course. And we talked and signed up for your program, asking if this would be a possibility if we had to close quickly and do all the things that the 1031 required us to do. So moving forward, we ended up selling that property faster than we had anticipated, and we ended up selling it for way more over ask. So we had a lot of money to deploy, and we got with your team and we talked to you, and you said we can do this. So that started. The clock started ticking November 1st of last year, and then within 45 days, we had identified 11 properties, and we closed 11 properties.
All in 2024
all in 2024.
And you were able to satisfy the items needed for the 1031 exchange.
Yep, absolutely. Actually ahead of schedule. I mean, because normally, you would identify the properties and you would still have time to close. We actually identified them and closed before the 45-day mark. So I think our last set of properties closed on December 31st.
And the houses you bought, so you bought 11, you have 11, and they were a combination of houses that needed work, houses that were turnkey, houses that were already occupied with Section 8 tenants. What do you think has been the pros, the cons, the differences? Because you've done, there's only three kind of properties you can buy. Ones that need a lot of work, ones that are turnkey or close to turnkey, and ones that are literal turnkey, up and running, cash flowing. What have you thought about, those three different property types, and which one do you think you like the best?
So going in there, I thought originally what we wanted to do was, buy houses that needed a lot of work because I don't want the maintenance down the road. I want it to be pristine, as pristine as possible, right? And keep our maintenance costs down low. So the idea of doing the, buy something lower, put the money into it and make it the way we want to was great. However, for the 1031 tax exchange, I couldn't use that against my capital gains, right? So I had to buy. So what we decided to do is we decided to go with turnkey properties, like you said. That way, my mom could actually start getting some income coming in, and the full purchase price, you know, a larger amount goes towards the 1031. So we didn't do big rehabs. We kept it. We tried to keep everything under $30,000, I believe, is what we pretty much did. I was a little bit wary of buying houses with tenants in it. But after looking at it, then we said, okay, well, we can buy all these properties, get the income coming in, and as we have turnover, then we'll start fixing up a handful of them. So we had a nice sort of mix to make sure that we've covered, what we needed to for the 1031, and then, making sure that we had money coming in at the same time. It worked perfectly for us, that combination.
Yeah. And you mentioned that it can be nerve-wracking buying houses that have tenants. Totally, because number one, we didn't vet them. So you don't
Yep,
really know who you're getting. You're kind of just buying something that already has this long history that we don't know. But the underlining kind of protection layer that we have there is that they're still in the Section 8 program. So
exactly.
the government's going to pay. You're just inheriting, really, at some point, if you do enough due diligence on the tenant, you're just inheriting someone else's hard work, as long as you make sure that you take on a tenant that would still be able to pass our background checks, our in-depth kind of screening and vetting process. So of those 11 houses, how many of them are up and running and cash flowing? Do you know off the top of your head?
So if I have a breakdown, so we had three turnkey, which means no rehab required. Everything was up and running, and those I felt really solid about. Then we have two long-term tenant ones, which one of them was, we knew it was a little bit iffy. So, but to me, it's like, okay, so what is the eviction process if we need to get a long-term tenant out? So we did investigate all that. And to me, it was like, okay, once we get them out, then we can do the value add and then get it into Section 8. So we have two of those. We had three rehabs, two of which are, or three of which are already done. One's already rented, and one's already listed, and the other one we're waiting to get listed. And then we had three that have Section 8 in them that need to, one, get value add, but they also need to be relooked at to see if we can bump up the rents on that while they're in there.
Yeah. Yeah, so good points, and so much great information. You guys have basically created a portfolio with experiences that take years to go through, and you've done it in like 90 days. So, and you're learning. It's a total crash course, because usually you start off with one type of single family property, which is, turnkey. And you try that, and then you get it onboarded and stabilized and cash flowing. And then you say, okay, well, let's buy a value add. And then you do that. And then you go through the same process. And then after years, you say, okay, we've done the value add, we've done the buy the occupied, buy the Section 8 occupied, buy the house that's turnkey that someone else did. You guys just did all of it
We
in
did all at once.
45 days. So, and you mentioned something also that I think is important. So you bought two houses that had cash tenants in them.
Yes.
Okay, so non-Section 8, you said you looked into the eviction process because it's tough buying those units. Now, the only thing that's good about it is usually when we inherit long-term cash tenants, we get a good price, because
Yes.
it's a pain in the butt having to say, okay, they're a cash tenant. How long have they been there? What kind of deferred maintenance is needed on the unit? How do we get these people out to then transition it into Section 8? So you guys have done amazing, and you think about 11 properties that you onboarded from November, almost halfway through November to the first
Crazy.
year. It's absolutely crazy. Now, this next 6 months is a stabilization period, which is
Correct.
take everything. We got to onboard it. We got to get it up and running and cash flowing to prove to you that it works, so you can build that confidence and then continue to scale from there.
Yep, exactly.
But we do need to give you props though as well, because when we started out, you gave us the parameters for Zillow, what to look for, what areas to look for, what prices to look for, how to look at the pictures and decide whether this is a good deal or not. And then because you have boots on the ground, you're able to go look at these properties and say, yeah, let's pass on this one. It might not be in such a great area, or this one just pass on. It has other issues on it. So the foundation that you gave us built on top of the foundation we already have, really allowed us to identify those properties, and get the,
Quickly.
get the ground running.
Yeah. Yeah. That was huge.
Well, I appreciate that, but you guys are doing it. And at the end of the day, we're in this together. I don't want to manage a property or deal with a property that's in a bad area where I'm putting my team and my people at risk or in a position that they shouldn't be put in. And we want things to go smooth because we want this to work for you. So for me, I'd rather you say no 99 times than just buy something just to buy it. Now, when it comes to Section 8, how did you guys end up here? You think about real estate and all the different asset classes and niches. What led you to Section 8?
So we're working with a mentor from another company, and he was here in Raleigh, and we were looking at properties here, and he was like, you should really start looking into Section 8. It would be really good for you. So we started down that path and just started, learning more about it. And that's how we came upon you, among other mentors out there. And so I'm like, this sounds kind of perfect for us because we wanted to have guaranteed income every month. I already had done, we both did a creative deal here in North Carolina. And unfortunately, it ended up being a headache. It was a lease option and she just stopped paying. So it took a while to get out, and it was just, and we both worked W-2s. So I just didn't want to deal with the headaches anymore. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to put my mom in that same position and ensuring that we were going to get that monthly check no matter what. And I also am too soft. Like, the person that we had in there was having issues, and I'm trying to be the good person and taking care of it. So it's nice to have a property management company that sort of, prevents me from being too nice. So.
Yeah, and that property management is a nice buffer. And a lot of times people will say, well, I can manage this. I'll do it. But a lot of times we need to be the bad guy. In situations like that, we don't want to ever create a situation where we don't want to do something because it's not in your best interest, and they either call you or have your information, and it's like, when you're a kid and your mom says no ice cream, so you go and ask your dad. We don't want to create that kind of situation to where there's something happening to the unit or with the tenant that's not in your best interest. So we're fine being the bad guy whenever we need to be. But so 11 houses, what is the plan over this next 12 months, 24 months, 36 months?
So the initial plan is, obviously we've got to get them all up and running and start getting the cash flow, right? We have a couple where we've actually received rents, but we're still waiting on additional rents at this point. So trying to make sure that's all stabilized and going, getting the rehabbed houses out there and rented. But then once that's done, then we need to start looking at, okay, how can we maximize the profits on the houses that haven't had, be reassessed by Section 8 so that we can get a bump in rent? Or do we need to get people out, rehab, or wait for them to get them out, rehab them, get those taken care of, to add the value add for that? But we also want to add additional houses. So we want to grow the portfolio. So we'll probably pull equity out once we get everything stabilized, but we also have access to a lot of private money, hard money, and we would like to go down that route to see what that's going to look like. Because it was really easy to buy with cash, right? Compared to what we've been through. Because typically we're using, like I said, private or hard money, where we can say, hey, we can close whenever you want, and here's cash. And, we would have cases where we had a couple of other investors bidding on a house, and they were bidding higher than us, but because they were using hard or private, they couldn't get the house, and the seller went with us instead. But that's the goal, is we want to add to the portfolio.
Yeah, and because you guys have so much equity, you have 100% equity in everything you own, that once we do a little bit of value add to a handful of these houses, plus the value add you've already done, you're going to have, a ton of equity. You've got a portfolio that's worth well over $1 million in such a short period of time that has untapped equity. Not even assuming that we can add 20 to 50% in value to every house that you buy, you're looking at hundreds of thousands in equity that you can then just do a cash out refinance on after months, pull all of it out, hopefully as close to seven figures, if not seven figures itself, and then just buy again all cash. And
Yep.
then you essentially are doing the Burr method on a large scale, which is literally the fastest way to scale real estate that there is. So you guys have that foundation to be able to do that and add 20, 30, 40, 50 properties in an unbelievably short period of time.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And we couldn't have done that in Raleigh. There's just
Yeah.
no way. The cost of the houses, 11 houses, we probably could have gotten 3 houses. And the cash flow is so much better with the Section 8. We've always wanted to go to other states, but we were afraid to pull the trigger on that. We didn't have boots on the ground. We didn't really know how it worked. So I like the fact that everything is kind of like you're taking care of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problems with that. Now, my control freak over here likes to have her hands into everything and wants to understand everything, which is great. But I like the fact that we just push it off into your hands and you guys take care of it. So that's been a great benefit to us or to me.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate that. But you guys are the ones doing it. As much as I can help you do it and make you feel comfortable, at the end of the day, you're doing it. And I don't take the trust that you've put in me for granted at all, because at the end of the day, this is a team. I want to make sure it's extremely smooth for you. I want to make sure it works, because you're not going to keep buying properties if it stinks. You know what I mean? You're not going to keep building this big monster if it doesn't work. So, I think it's a testament to the entire process if you do
Yep.
buy more, because it shows, hey, this works. This is a very legitimate way to build wealth, to build cash flow, and to supplement, in your case, the ability for one of your family members to live comfortably and not have to, supplement them with your income, or it's just a better alternative than having them have to get a job or live off of other retirement, whatever it is. So, I mean, you have over 10 houses. How many times have you guys been to your city, seen the houses, touched them, met the tenants, walked the area, met the team? You guys have probably done that 10 times by now.
Not even once. And that's been an issue for me. Because I mean, that, like Scott's saying, I mean, we really had to put trust in the team. Like we haven't seen some of these houses. We haven't even seen the inside or the outside, because some, like, we bought a portfolio of a bunch, and there's no pictures. So we really had to trust you in saying yay or nay, and this is what needs to get done, and accepting things at face value. Which normally, like, I'm a control freak, so for me, it's been a challenge, but I didn't have a choice but to trust you, and it's gone great. It's almost, like I keep telling you, it's almost too easy.
And that's the nice thing about it is we got into this because we like to help other people, and now we're helping her mom out. But we have a lot of friends that are interested in this, so we want to be able to pay this forward. And we wouldn't do that if we didn't have trust in the program that you're putting forth.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. And what you're doing too, it makes me feel good. And part of what we do, I think that what keeps me doing this is, number one, I'll tell you, these conversations is what keeps me doing it. But also, when you guys get fired up about something and you believe in it and you trust in it and you enjoy it, what ends up happening is you bring other people in. And what happens then is you bring other people in that then inject so much money into areas where people need safe housing. So when everybody makes money, it's great. It's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But what the byproduct of that is a situation where everybody wins. And at the end of the day, you have 11 houses. You're going to buy another 50 more if you want. And that is 50 lives right now, 11 lives that you're literally impacting directly, not indirectly, not investing in the stock market and putting $1 million with a company that takes your money and chops it up against the C-suite employees. And maybe a little bit of that money goes to R&D to then make somebody's life better. You guys are literally injecting capital directly into homes where people are living in. The decisions that you make affect someone's life dramatically. I mean, everything you do, whether you choose to do a little bit more expensive of light fixtures that don't break, whether you choose to change a layout that makes somebody's life a little bit easier in their house, those are the things that we actually are having that direct impact on the ground. And, selfishly, I see that every week. I go to these properties and I see what we're doing and the impact that we're having. And I'm so blessed and grateful that you guys have put that trust in us. And then I get to selfishly see what that money's doing and the benefit that it's having in a lot of these communities that, I've been in for going on 2 decades now. And I've seen them come so far and have seen, literally thousands of lives that we've changed. So if you were, and you are, by the way, you are talking to people right now who are thinking about getting into this, but if you could talk to them directly right now, what would you tell them about this entire experience, the asset class, Section 8, everything?
I would say go for it. The one thing that I do love about it, like you just said, and even talking to your particular property manager, is that she's helping people. You're helping people, and we're helping people. So for us, that was huge. That was one of the reasons why we actually got into real estate to begin with, but we just never could find the right path to there. Section 8, again, they get in there. Everybody has this preconceived notion that they're going to destroy the house. And it's like, no, because if they destroy the house, they're going to lose their voucher. So it's less risk for us doing it this way as opposed to doing a long-term tenant. And this process just made it so much easier for us, especially because, like I said, we both work full-time jobs. We have other stuff going on here. And it allows us to have that perfect balance of doing real estate and helping others without all of the stress.
Yeah. Well, guys, you've done an amazing thing in such a short period of time. I'm so excited to see where you end up and keep growing. And I hope to have you on and very soon again when we're talking about 20 and 50 and 100. So
Let's do it.
yeah, and everybody watching this, please leave some questions below in the comments, and we'll get to all of them. And I know Joanna and Scott will be in those comments as well to discuss a little bit. So, guys, thank you so much for coming on here today, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.